Hey guys, Cheryl Nembhard here, and I got a question for you. Are you guys ready to be blown away by an incredible story? If you are, then this episode is for you. We are speaking with my dear friend and brother who hails from Toronto and is now a global executive head of secure logistics. He is the director of operations and security for Bieber Time Touring. You got the name right. He is head of security and personal detail for the one and only Justin Bieber, and he is director of security for Jhene Aiko. Coming up next, we are speaking with Lorne Walters. He's going to talk to us about his incredible journey, what he has learned along the way, how he has lived as an inspirational mentor to A-list celebrities, how he navigates faith and fame, and the lessons that even Justin Bieber has taught him, and how he landed on the last track of Freedom by accident. You don't want to miss this. Available on all podcasts or check it out on YouTube. I'll see you on the path.
You're listening to On the Path podcast with Cheryl Nembhard. Follow Cheryl Nembhard on all social media platforms.
Hey guys, I am so excited to have you guys with me on the path today. And today's a very, very special day for me because I have family in the building. It's a family affair. This is my dear, dear friend, longtime friend, Lorne Walters. But you need to know about this man because his life is going to inspire you. His story is incredible. It is truly rags to riches, and not just in a financial sense, but in building empire and vision. And I think that you are going to get so much from this conversation. Let me tell you about Lorne. I've known him for over 20 years. This man started with an idea and a mind for business and has built a company now called Secure Logistics, which is high profile, high executive logistics and security. He's the director of operations for Bieber Time Touring. Yes, we'll get back to that. And he's also the director of operations for Jhene Aiko, another name you might remember. He is also a familiar face because he is personal security detail for the man himself, Justin Bieber. And I wanted to get into the mind of this incredible man who has been a long time supporter, friend, mentor to so many people in the industry. Lorne, welcome to On the Path. I'm so excited. I'm stumbling.
Hey, listen, thank you for having me. I'm glad to be here. Anything for you, Cheryl. Appreciate it.
It's my bro, guys. So Lorne, we're gonna chop it up, but let's just get into a little bit about the heart behind this big presence that we see all the time. I want to ask you a question because I've been thinking about it a lot, especially in the line of work that you do. 2020 and 2021 has been nuts. Like we can agree, it has been one of the worst times in the history of mankind. It's been so hard. And I gotta wonder, what has the past 12 months been like for you personally? And what are the big lessons that you're learning in all of it?
Yeah, it's been a challenging year. Thankfully, the clients that we have also understood the challenges and have adapted to different movements just to ensure that they're safe and our team is safe. Sometimes you get clients that will move regardless of what the restrictions are, and their overall concerns are not necessarily their staff or their team.
Yeah.
Thankfully, have taken that into consideration with their movements.
Yeah.
And they're more, I guess, more calculated, if you want to use those words.
Yeah.
One of the big revealers for me, though, you asked a good question.
Yeah, the big lessons for you.
Yeah, the lessons. The biggest thing that has stuck out to me is the importance of getting to know yourself and knowing who you are in these times. I know a lot of people would focus on the peripherals and trying to ensure that, financially they've saved or, they have a plan of, if there's a food shortage or whatever it may be. But I found in such a time where mental health and different things have come up, like anxiety, and people have been talking about a lot of these things.
Yeah.
For me, the importance of just getting to know yourself and knowing what your capabilities are, I think it's very, very important to helping to sustain just your level of understanding, your level of just overall presence, being in the moment,
That's good.
It's so important to really do the things that build you
Yeah.
and bring the best version of yourself. So when
So
these
good.
challenges come, and these situations do come, depending on what's happening in the world,
Yeah.
you're able to navigate it a little bit better. You're able to make more sound decisions. You're able to take a step back and, make the decision I feel that is best for you. It's not selfish. It's being the best you can for yourself so that you can give the best of yourself to others.
I love that, Lauren. So good. And just off the cuff, like one or two things you do to keep your mental health. What are those practices?
Man, having people, I know this is going to sound a little repetitive, but you have to filter the people that are in your life. I think
that's good.
God has never designed us, I don't think, to be an island. It was never his strategy. Relationships are very important. Bishop Jakes taught a very potent message, and I wish I could remember the name of it, but it was talking about relationships and the keys to relationships. And something that he said stuck with me. It's okay to have a few friends. It's okay to have a few individuals that you can look and bare your soul to, and that will
so good
when you're wrong, or when you're off, when you're honest, when you need to check yourself. Having solid relationships are so important, so that when these moments come, that you can lean on individuals that are there for you, that are invested in you. So, key relationships are very important. Obviously, self-development, reading, and obviously the Word of God for me has been the beacon to which I've been able to exist in these times.
I love that. And, I heard that word self-development, and it just causes me to think about the trajectory of your life. And, there's few people in your circle now that can legitimately say, I was there when, and it's such an honor. Like, I'm trying to just hold it together, because I literally was there watching you build this vision brick by brick. In fact, back then it was probably straw by straw.
It literally was straw by straw. You better believe it. It definitely was.
Straw by straw, people. You guys don't even know. This man would put anything together and stick it with tape, and it would work. He had this innate knack for building business. And I remember King's Court limo. I'm going to take you back. I remember King's Court limo service. Yeah. Mm-hmm. King's Court limousine service in Toronto, and the village showed up. Everyone that was connected to you, we just believed in you. Even my husband was a driver at the time.
That's right.
Everybody was just pitching together to make it work. And when I look now, Lauren Walters, when I look now and see Secure Logistics, you are traveling the globe, high profile clients, celebrities, and you are probably most known and most famous for, I know you don't love that word, but most famous for being literally over the shoulder of Justin Bieber. It's an amazing journey. I'd love if you could share kind of like how you went from the six, Malvern, because I know Malvern is where you started.
Malvern, yeah.
Tell us the journey, Lauren, and then if when you're good, I'd love to know a tip for how to build a vision like this.
Yeah, it literally started from the foundation of my pops. My pops, growing up in Malvern, my father was called into ministry. I was about 12, 13 at that time. He was always involved in ministry, but he was sent to pastor in the area in which I grew up, which was Melbourne. So nice. For him, it was a new journey for him. And he was in the middle of, finding a location for the church and renting a location, and then having to rent musical instruments, and then having to set up chairs and all of those things that we had to do foundationally for the ministry. My father really pushed me and put me in places that I didn't feel I was, I didn't have any experience in. I wasn't an experienced musician, but I had to figure out how to play the piano, because we didn't have a musician at that time that could play the piano. Mm-hmm. When we finally got a musician that could play the piano, I had to learn how to play the drums. And I wasn't formally taught how to play the drums, but I had to figure it out, because we needed a drummer. And as things evolved, I had to get involved in, ushering people to seats and whatever it took to build the foundation of that ministry. All of those things that I learned were stepping stones for me in business integrity, service excellence, commitment to excellence, things that my father had taught me. And as a result of that, I was able to take that experience and start my business. It was never easy in doing that. We didn't come from, an extensive background where I could pull resources together to be able to, get all the vehicles I wanted and the office spaces that I needed. But what I had to do was learn how to evolve the business, grow the business. And, we started with one vehicle and we tried our best with that one vehicle and we grew it to where we had just shy of 22 cars, overhead when I was 23 and overhead about just shy of $32,000 a month that I was responsible for coming up with. And it was definitely a challenging season, but I had to learn, the principles, some of the principles of like service excellence and integrity that were pillars to me being where I am today.
Wow. Was there ever a moment that you wanted to give up, Lauren?
100%. 100%. I had a situation where, when I initially started, I thought, the one of the more honorable ways was to, I know it sounds kind of crazy, but to, my father had taught me the principle of sitting and learning at others, feet and using that experience to grow your own story or your own testimony, if you want to use that. I had approached a company that was in the industry for many years, and I brought to them, the strategy of what I was trying to do, and I presented it to them as though, I wanted to partner with them in this strategy. And I remember the owner looking at me as if I was crazy. He looked me in my eyes and told me, the demographic, it just wouldn't work in City of Toronto. Not a good idea, not a good concept. And so I left it alone. I walked away from that. Maybe 3-4 months later, I was watching a program called Breakfast Television.
Yes.
And in the
Toronto.
city, we had that show. And the same gentleman was on that show. And he was actually presenting a new aspect of business that he was offering. And it happened to be the strategy that I had presented to.
No.
And I sat there and I looked at it and I was shattered. I was shattered, that he was
your business plan he's rolling out on Breakfast Television.
The very same strategy he was rolling it out on Breakfast Television. And so I took that to heart. It hurt. And I remember sharing that with one of my mentors, Superior Court Justice Tulloch. I remember he was a lawyer back in those days. And I had a couple cars and I had reached out to him and I told him about the incident, what transpired. And he encouraged me literally to say, listen, that should have been fuel. That's fuel for you to get back out there and to drive your business and to develop it, be the best at that business as you can. And no accolades, no hand ups, no open doors per se, just went out there and gave it the best I could. And thank God, here we are today.
And, when I look at social media, I mean, it's a good thing, like you said, that I know myself and I keep myself grounded, because I would be super uber jealous, Lord, to look at your Instagram. You are literally traveling the globe. Like, there's not a place, I don't think, in this country, in this globe, that you guys have not been in, near, and around. And it's an incredible life. But I also know that it's got an underbelly to it. It's got a darker side to it. And I wonder, because you also are a man of faith, and I love that you bring your whole self to everything that you do. Everyone knows who you are and what you believe and what you stand for. I gotta ask you, has it been challenging or easy navigating your faith in this huge entertainment industry around A-list celebrities and the like?
You know what? I'll be honest with you. For me, it wasn't challenging per se for me because of my foundation, and I think that really helped me navigate a lot of the different things I was seeing around me. Unfortunately, um, the concept of Hollywood is a real. It's based off of formalities and fluff. There's not a lot of substance underneath. There's not a lot of place that people can find solace and support and love. And I don't think it was designed with that in mind. Obviously, it's a machine. It pumps out entertainment and music and different things like that. But within that, what I've noticed is that obviously there's individuals that are in the industry that have not been able to have a solid foundation. And, in some cases, they've had people that are gifted and are talented, but just never had solid foundations of people that were around them to help them evolve. And so I think, there's a call for people, I feel, in that have, been a part of ministries or have committed their life to the Lord, and they feel that they can benefit the lives of others that are in these industries. I would use that as a call for those people to come through and to come be a part of this type of environment. We often run away from these type of platforms because of the fear of what I may do or that person may do. And I don't believe that is really the heart of God. I really believe the heart of God is for us to pursue the things of God, and the things of God is a call to relationship. And I think that would mean for us to really go into the world and to, influence it with our lives and our testimonies. And I think that would bring a lot of change in the industry.
That's so good, Lauren. I 100% agree with you. And I think anyone that heard that got a prick that, it is not time to run away. It's time to lean into industries like that. And, I hear what's coming up for me is that, there's a lot of, would you say, brokenness and pain and emptiness in the industry. And that's kind of a steady norm, but there are celebrities. I mean, your boy is, I think, one at the top of the list right now that are navigating faith and so-called fame so well. Why do you think that is? When you look at those celebrities that are holding firm to their faith, what is it about them that is succeeding when others are failing?
I think there is an aspect of trial and error. I know that the church, one of the things that the church, presents very well is people that have arrived, people that have it all together, people that have a clear sense of their purpose and they are on track. That's usually how we present. The reality, though, is that we all are sometimes insecure. We all require affirmation. We all have voids in our life that only God can fill. And once we get around like-minded people that can let you know that you're not alone in what your feelings are and what you're going through, the challenges that you feel, and it may not be the same. I may not be going through that particular situation that you're going through, but I too bleed. I too am somebody that has insecurities, and it opens up the dialogue, it opens up the conversation. And again, you realize that we're stronger together than we are apart. And I think the whole strategy of the enemy has always been to conquer and divide, always to bring discord, always to bring confusion, because in that there is no sense of purpose. There's no sense of clarity. There's no sense of understanding what it is that I'm really called to do. What is it that I love? What is it that I want to invest my time here on earth into that would bring, at the end of the day, glory to God? And I think when we have dialogue with people that are transparent, people that are going through and that have gone through, we build bridges for individuals to get through, to get over what it is that they're struggling with. But what if we continue to put up these walls and not communicate and not develop our relationships, we begin to isolate one another. That's never the will of God.
I love that, building bridges. And when I look at you, and it's so perfect, that analogy, because you metaphorically to me are a bridge. You literally have lived your life as a bridge between, and I hate these. I'm not a fan of these words, but I'm just saying them. But the so-called secular and church, and you know what I'm saying, entertainment and the world. You know that phrase.
That's right.
You've been a bridge, and I know that you have dedicated your life, Lauren, to living a life of impact, positive influence to anyone that's in your surroundings. I'd love to ask you if you can give us like some real world examples. How do you become a role model in an industry like that? Like, what does that look like to? I gotta know, because there are some people that I know that are where they are because you have been part of the pouring in process and the holding up process. What does that look like?
Man, it's a very transparent process. I believe that. Listen, this is only my personal conviction. Obviously everybody has their own, but if I present myself as the strategic link between fulfillment and purpose, and my insight is gold, I believe I'm doing the person an injustice. I truly believe that. I guess I have some life experiences. Yes, I've gone through some things that have redefined and reshaped the way I think and the way I look at life. But ultimately, me pointing somebody towards God as the answer, I've found that I have a 100% success rate for those individuals.
Come on.
Finding their purpose, in terms of them getting a clear understanding of what they want to do with their lives, and getting answers to which answers seemed impossible to get. There is a significant reliance in my life on God, and what he's not only capable of doing, but what he's already done in my life, and seeing the track record, the lengthy track record of his consistency in my life has made me 110% dependent on who he is. And so for me, when I'm talking to anybody, it doesn't matter who it is, and I hear what they're going through and I understand, even though it may sound very cliche-ish, I really point them to the source, because he has a way of bringing a peace over somebody's life that passes the ability for somebody to understand that. How did I even get here? How did I even receive the peace in a situation that was void of peace and void of explanation? Mathematically, that equation doesn't work, but there's a way that God, his presence is sufficient enough to bring that level of understanding and peace. And I think for me, it has been something that I've tried, and I've seen the consistency in it. And that's my 100% belief system, that God is able to fill any void. God is able to allow you to develop any strategy. He is the secret sauce to my success, if you want to use that. And it is what it is, and that's where I put my total dependency on.
I love this. And, we're family. I know you're good for this. I'm just going to throw this in because I know your heart. I think that we live in a world, I'm mindful of obviously Justin, but Kanye right now, Carl Lentz, some other names. There is a cancel culture, right? That is so quick to assassinate. And I would love for you to speak to that, because I think what I'm hearing from you is that it's the long game. It's doing life with these people, right? And it's not judging on the first and second or third fall. Like how do you feel about cancel culture, and how do we not do that, especially as Christians?
I really believe that the cancel culture is a lack of understanding the grace that God extends to us on a daily basis. Most folks are not truthfully transparent with what they have gone through, what they continue to go through on a daily basis. I've had the privilege of growing with Justin, even with Jhene, and I've seen them in their rough times and their good times and their victories and losses. And one of the things that I've tried to do with myself is make my life just as, if you want to say, accessible, so that they can see that I too have those moments of great days and rough days, but the consistency or the secret sauce is a dependency on God. I think this cancel culture that comes only to kill and destroy is definitely a strategy of the enemy. It doesn't matter who the person is. Obviously, we all make mistakes. We all go through challenges in life. And I think the message there is nothing but the grace of God. Some artists, some entertainers, some actors, they never had the opportunity. They were growing in private.
Right.
And they've always been exposed publicly, so yeah, it becomes very hard. We are not human beings that are flawed, that are not perfect, that are in need of a savior and in need of grace. And in moments where we can extend grace to each other, I believe we should, and there's a message behind that. There's a benefit in extending grace to our fellow brother or sister that is going through, that is the heart of God. And whether hearing my opinion, it's really not about what my convictions are to what they've gone through. The reality is that, there's a Savior that loves them and wants to extend grace towards them. And who am I to not pattern his heart in these types of situations?
Come on. I'd love for you to help someone now that's listening that is at the end of their rope, right? I know that you've encountered so many that have written you personally and just, have you ever hit rock bottom? I think the answer is yes. I'm 100%. Sure. Like flat on your back, like white flag, that's it. But tell us, how did you get out? How did you come up from the lowest point of your life?
Yeah, I mean, there's rock bottom can serve as a very good reminder of the frailty of life and the frailty of the human condition. We often, again, think, especially this is with, I find younger guys, when I was playing football, I had a sense of invincibility. I thought, man, there ain't nobody I could tackle, I could do it all, and we developed this confidence and a set way of thinking of invincibility. And what happens with that, it numbs us from the realities of life, of what is around us, and how the frailties of life are just at our fingertips. Things that we perceive we take for granted, like health and loved ones can be touched and affected in a moment's notice. My grandmother, in November, we were in New York City and we were doing Saturday Night Live. And I remember we just got back to the hotel and I got a call at about 11:30 that evening. And it was my mother on the other line. And she said to me, hey, I don't want to upset you, but your grandmother just passed. And I said, where is she? She said, I'm with her right now. And I said, where are you guys? At the house? Where is she? She said, she is right here. So I FaceTimed her. And I took a look at my grandmother and, it didn't really click in that she had passed. It looked like she was just sleeping. It was just minutes that she was here, hearing the story of the evening before she, that same evening she was eating dinner. She was fine. She was not sick. And then she went up to go to bed and that was that, she passed. It reminds me of the frailties of life. But at the same point, I realized that the Lord had extended 97 years of wonderful memories from my grandmother. And
Wow.
I realized that every time she would always encourage me, she was singing, she was reading her, her scriptures, whatever she was doing, the one consistency in her life was
Hmm.
the joy of the Lord was the thing that sustained her through life. And I know that most of us, our lives turn multiple turns, things happen, situations come about.
Hmm.
Marriages don't last, relationships don't last. All of a sudden, things happen. Financially, things can get rough, and I'm sure it is rough for a number of individuals. But I know again, and I'm trying my best not to sound like a broken record. There is a benefit to having a relationship with the Lord. I really believe that just that relationship alone has the ability to change everything in your life, the circumstances in your life, the rock bottom situation that you may find yourself in, the difficulties that you had. If you take Justin for an example, you've been able to see the things in his life that he's had no choice but to live a very public life.
It's hard. It's very
It's
hard.
a very challenging thing to do.
Yeah.
You want the covering of just being, under shelter while you develop and grow.
Right.
But the one thing in his life that has brought him the most joy and brought him the most peace and the most understanding and the most clarity of thought is his relationship with the Lord and his dependency thereof.
Yeah.
And it has been able to take.
It's been a real anchor, would you say?
100%. It's the one thing. You're talking about somebody who has had access to everything. And,
Yeah.
I would encourage you, if you haven't listened to the Freedom album.
I have. We're going to talk about it. Yeah.
Yeah. That album there, there's some.
I really particularly like the last track. There's a really amazing, rich baritone, Barry White voice that I want to talk about on the last track.
I don't know who that would be, but the reality is whoever that was, he was saying some stuff.
He was saying, and he sounded good too. Let me tell you.
He declared some stuff, You
know what? While we're here, let's talk about it. Let's talk about freedom and the fact that, Justin's heart is to put out this incredible gospel content. And as we were joking, but quite seriously, you, Lauren, are on the last track, reading scripture so profoundly, feels very much like a prayer in that moment. I'd love to, how did that moment come about? How did that come to be?
How did that even project come about? We were in the studio all week, knocking some things out, and just him working on music. And musicians, they have a natural itch to constantly creating. And it was Friday. We were in the studio, maybe it was Friday, maybe about 2:00, and he just finished one track, and we're sitting, and I was, on my computer, and he said, "Bro, I really feel like I want to put out a project for Easter." And I said, "Man, that sounds good. We got literally 1 year to do it. Let's start working." He said, "No, I don't mean 1 year. I want to put it out Sunday." I said, "Justin, today's Friday." He goes, "I'm aware."
Wait a minute. Hold on. Sorry, Lauren.
Yes.
Oh, sorry, I don't mean to cut you. Are you trying to tell me and us that Justin made an album in a matter of days? That Freedom album?
Yes, exactly. And he got on the phone and he called all of the people that needed to be called. We called, obviously, our pastor, Pastor Jhene, called him. We called Tori Kelly, Chandler Moore. These are all great friends.
Yeah.
And we called in our engineers. We called everybody in, and he said, "Listen, This is what I do. I want to put out a record that will speak to the freedom that my relationship with the Lord brings, not only to my life, but I believe could bring to others' lives."
Wow.
And we started working on it, and I've been able to, back home, I try my best to do some form of mentoring back in Toronto, and I have about 5 young men that are passionate about music, passionate about the things of God, and I probably the last 5 or 6 years we've been constantly just making music and producing and creating and just honing in on the skill sets of music. And we had an opportunity to put 2 records out on that album. And those young men did a phenomenal job with that. And they're Toronto boys.
How did you, sir, get on that last track? Do tell.
Well, we were in the studio, and I was reading while he was doing all of the songs and we're recording them. I was reading some scripture, and I came across that passage that I read on the Freedom Project. And he came and he hugged me and he looked over my shoulder and he saw what I was reading. And he said, I want you to read that scripture on the record. I said, nah, that you do it. Take the scripture. If you feel you want to do it, you do it. He said, no, I need you to jump in on the record. So I went into the booth, and it's not an environment that I'm accustomed to. And he literally kneeled, put his hands on my feet, and started praying for me while I was reading the scripture. And I read it, and man, it was a special moment. I felt not only the presence of God, but the support of, you can find, I said this, I mentioned this earlier on, but you can find leaders that are about, proactive things and are, overall great leaders, but you can't find a lot of leaders that are passionately about the things of God and that want to really promote things like healthy relationships and purpose.
And can I add one more thing? And are humble enough, Lauren, to get down on their knees. That posture in service, that takes a very mature, special leader.
Yeah, it takes a different person to even assume those postures. You would think that people that serve would, that's their modus operandi. That's how they position things. I've seen it in countries that I've gone into, but for Justin to assume that posture was just a blessing. So
it's my favorite track, and I'm not saying it because you're my friend. It literally is my favorite track. I just play it and just let it go in. And I thank God that you said yes. I know that was out of your element, but my goodness, Lauren, your voice can launch yachts and ships. And we used to call you Bishop and Pastor back in the day. You have that voice, sir.
I appreciate that.
Listen,
you so much.
I know that you've touched on something really quick, and I as we're wrapping up, I wanna bring this up because it's a huge part of who you are. You talk about mentorship in young men, and I know that you have a massive heart for men. Just so for everybody to know, even when Lauren was just in Toronto, just trying to build the dream from the beginning, was always serving in and around men's ministry, had a heart for men, mentoring young men. He's been consistent. You could set your watch to this man. He has not changed. But I want to ask you about something that I know that you'll have a lot of words for: toxic masculinity. It's there's something happening in the young men of today, and it's so damaging what's happening. I don't want to break it apart because we don't have the time or the bandwidth, but it is super challenging, super damaging. A lot of broken men being maybe raised in broken, dysfunctional places. I don't know where it's coming from, but it's a mess. I would love for you to speak to the men that are listening that will dial in. What is your definition of healthy manhood versus toxic manhood?
Obviously, the theme of what you've heard from my message is the dependency on God. I really believe as men, the challenge sometimes is, obviously there can be numerous amount of challenges, whether it's, financial, emotional. There can be a number of challenges that would hinder men from being the best version of themselves.
Right.
But a man without a clear understanding of purpose is a firearm with no bullet, if you want to say that.
Oh,
or
that's good, Lauren.
A house without any type of foundation. The challenge has always been, and it's a good challenge, is what have I been created to do? What is my place in this world? What is my purpose? And without a clear sense of purpose, I find that, men get caught up in things that obviously don't bring any form of, continuity to their life, no form of substance to their life. And the enemy is very good and at getting you lost in time, thinking that time is a thing that we can grab back, which we cannot. Unfortunately, there's things that are absolutes, and time is something that we do not have a lot of. Unfortunately, it's just what it is. And so, getting an understanding or a clear understanding of one's purpose, asking certain questions and developing that, getting around some folks that are like-minded and that can help you develop, or just even ask basic questions like, what do I love? What do I love to do? And aligning yourself with that, I believe that's when God begins to, help you navigate that terrain, help you get an understanding of that terrain, help you figure out what is your placement, what is your place. The Lion King is a great movie. It talks about all of those things, and I'm a Disney fan, but it is always the message of where do I belong? And obviously, a healthy relationship with the Lord is that I would pursue for any man that has a desire to really be the reflection of what they feel that they're called to be. Obviously, a toxic version of that would be somebody who has no clear understanding of who they are in God, who they are in what He's pre-designed for our lives. So
that's good. That's good.
Getting lost in that can be a very toxic thing, but getting perspective and insight into who it is that God has you to be, or would want you to be, or would have pre-designed for you to be, would be the maximum healthy relationship that I would point any young man or any man to in that matter towards.
That's so good. And you also talked about earlier when we were talking the importance of mental health in men, and I feel like a lot of men are not speaking up when they're not okay.
Right. But again, I go back to the island methodology in terms of just being by yourself and not having people that you can confide in and can tell you the truth when something is wrong. We do ourselves a disservice when we don't have quality relationships. I'm not talking about a Rolodex filled with numbers. I'm talking about one or two individuals that we can call that will help you navigate these rough seasons. Because again, we were never designed to be by ourselves. And I know that men, we often come with baggage. There's things that we're holding on to. And it is so refreshing when we can get around people that are willing to say, hey, listen, this is where I am. This is what my challenges have been. This is what I've gone through in life. And, I'm willing to hear from you, and you share what you've gone through. And together we can build, a future.
So good. Lauren, I'm just so thankful for this conversation. I've got one more little question and a surprise question for you. And I thank you for your time. It's been incredible.
Oh, good.
Goodness. Lauren, okay, so a little bit of a game. One word answers only. Give as many as you like. What does it take to build a vision, to build a company, to build the big dream? What do we need in our arsenal to get it done?
Focus, dedication, loyalty. Let me say that again. Loyalty.
That's a double portion of loyalty, y'all.
Double portion of loyalty. Definitely commitment. Definitely excellence.
Ooh, that's good.
Yeah, the ones I just listed there are very, very valuable ones. Those are all powerful things to be able to develop a strong brand.
That's so good.
Mm-hmm.
And you have done just that, Lauren, with Secure Logistics and so much more. Your future is so bright. And I know that you're probably in what phase of this? Because there's so much more in your head. Are you in phase 2, phase 3 of Secure Logistics? Where are you at?
Man, I'm still growing. I'm young. I got years in front of me.
Yes, you do.
Declaration. I'm declaring that. But yeah, no, I'm just constantly building. The sky's the limit. There's been some awesome opportunities that have been presented, and I'm just in a matter of just trying to navigate that and figure that out. And but I believe I'm still growing and evolving, and I'm excited for what God has for me.
How can we follow along and track and journey with you? I know you have a personal Instagram, and then I know that there's also a very cool one that I've been following, which is all the bodyguards, just their lives and, a little bit more of getting to know them. How do we follow you?
Yeah, my Instagram handle is LDubs. It's LDUBZS. Feel free to follow me on Instagram if you'd like. And I just kind of talk about my journey and my insight, and some of the things that I've seen, some of the places that I've gone, but more importantly, some of the inspiration that I've received from moments of travel or reflection. And I hope that, when I do share my thoughts, I hope it blesses somebody. It helps them where they're at.
It's super inspirational, guys. You'll love it.
And then the biggest thing is that, man, it's anything is possible. A kid from Malvern can be involved and develop and evolve to where I am today. Anything is possible.
Anything is possible.
Stratford, Ontario can be seen as one of the biggest, if not the biggest pop stars in the world, and still loves the Lord and speaks of that. So, we're in a different day and age.
And just for fun, can I shout out, I think do I have it right? Bieber Bodyguards. Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's by your crew actually manages that themselves. Is that right?
Right. It's actually a young lady out of Miami.
Okay.
She literally was, following our story and just wanted to develop a page, and she developed the page out of it. And she's constantly, tracking where we're going and what we're doing. She doesn't obviously, she's not a liability, but she's seen as, a close friend. And it's great. What's up?
I love it because the focus is you guys behind the scenes and all the work and sacrifice and time and dedication that goes into making the big vision happen. Okay. Well, are you ready for your surprise question?
Go ahead. Shoot it.
That I did not tell you about. Okay.
Oh boy.
So Lauren, I need you to finish this sentence. Okay. Think about the year that we've had. Think about even all that we've talked about, the challenges, what it takes to overcome, and finish the sentence. It's time for what? It's time for what? So you'll say it's time for, and then let it rip.
It's time for understanding. I really believe it's a time for understanding. It's a time for grace. It's a time for forgiveness. I know that this is more than one word, but it's time for love.
Let it rip.
Yeah, it's time for love. I really believe, we've had quite a year, and we've been desensitized with the amount of people that we've lost due to this terrible sickness called COVID. And some people have had underlying health issues that were never an issue for them before. Their body figured out a way to work with whatever ailment that they had. And once COVID was introduced, it turned everything upside down for so many people. I really believe there's a time for love and understanding. And, I was told of a friend of mine that is currently, not doing too well. And, we made calls to see what we could do to kind of support that friend of ours. And thankfully, we had some good relationships that were able to give us access to him. And, there's ways that we're sending just voice notes and messages, just things that can rejig the mind to know that people love them and people are caring, people are rooting for you. The things that, this world will provide affirmation in so many areas that are empty, so many areas that we think if we get the big house, if we get the big car, if we get the multiple, items, that it's going to bring some form of, happiness or fulfillment. And I've just seen it at this level that it doesn't do any of that, substantive relationships, good quality relationships, people that love you, words of affirmation have been able to heal people. And I really feel that it's a time to love. It's a time to forgive. It's just time to extend grace, to extend understanding where understanding first was thought to not be present, to extend grace where, I don't know if I can forgive, just extend grace and understanding, and let's love one another. I think that's the ultimate goal.
Lauren, thank you so much for sharing your heart. And thank you so much for your honesty, your candor. You are an open book. You're real, raw, and authentic. And I love that about you. And it's so easy to see why God has blessed you the way he has, because you just live to serve. And we will be tracking you anytime we look at a picture or a video of JB. I'm sure we'll see you not too far behind. Yeah, and it's been a joy. And I hope that you do come back and share more of your exciting projects when they happen.
I'm here. I'm here to support you. I love what you're doing. Anything from me, always know I'm right here. I appreciate you.
Thank you, Lauren, and thank you for being on the path today.
Yes, ma'am.
Wow, I want to thank my dear friend Lauren for taking the time out to be part of our show here on The Path. I learned so much from this conversation. No matter where you are or what level God elevates you to, if you keep him at the center, not only will you stay grounded when times get rough, when you are overwhelmed, but you will also be an influence to all those around you. I'm so thankful that Lauren continues to be a bright light in the entertainment industry and that he has such an incredibly bright future ahead of him. We are cheering him on and supporting him. And guys, I hope that you got something from this conversation. And to every young man out there that is trying to make a dream, know that we are cheering you on. And when you feel like it's too much, don't be afraid to say that you are not okay. And we support you in your journey. Guys, until then, keep living, keep learning, keep loving, and I'll see you on the path.
Thanks for listening. Please like, download, and subscribe. This has been an Exousia Media production.